right, hello and welcome back, everybody. This is David with Fairmare's Rangers, and we're going to be discussing some more Empire Total War for the iOS and Android release on November 21st for the mobile. So let's get ready to discuss this. It's going to be interesting. We're going to break it all down. Just 2 days left, guys. 2 days before this release. So let's go over what we know and pros and cons and what we don't know. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start this conversation off with discussing the cons. Yep, we're going to get the negative out of the way first. So the first con is there's not going to be any modding available for this release. So I know it's a big one for a lot of people. And we're going to discuss a little bit more why as we get into some of the other cons, because they kind of are interlaced. So we'll cover the next one and we'll just roll into those right now. Okay. So here's the big one, guys. There's going to be no modding, of course, we discuss. No new units, no new nations, no new regions, no cut content. So yeah, the no modding is pretty big when you factor in all that, because a lot of people like to go in and add some of these little elements, which has been done, you know, on all the PC versions of pretty much all the Total Wars, and you're not going to be able to do that with this. So, I mean, I don't know what more I can say. I'm not going to boo-hoo and cry about it. It is what it is. That's what this version is going to be about. And that can either be a deciding factor for you to purchase it or not. It's, you know, but it is a factor. Let's be honest about it for a lot of people. A huge factor. So let's move on to the next set of cons, or next con. But I mean, there we got 5 already. Let's move on. Okay, so the next up is there is no plan for a remaster. And I know some people are looking forward to an eventual remaster of the game, because we all full well know that CA probably will not ever do a Empire 2 Total War. So your best hope is for the game to be remastered, like Rome was done. However, at the current time, that looks unlikely. They've already, you know, the pattern was they did Rome to mobile. After they did that, they remastered the game. Then they went and they moved Medieval 2 to the mobile, but they never did a remaster. And then they moved on to Empire and did a mobile version of that, which will obviously we've been discussing. It will release in 2 days. So the pattern has been broken from the pattern of do the mobile, then do the remaster. That's been broken. So it looks doubtful at this point, guys. So our best hope is kind of slowly drawing to a slow grave. Maybe we could get them to convince them to port this game to the PC for the changes they've done, because they have done some changes that we're going to go into that I think are real positive, of course, in the pros. But as we're focusing on the cons, you know, I hate to say it, but that is a big con. So let's move on from this. Okay, so to quickly go over this last couple points, I'm just going to roll them off. There's not going to be a Warpath campaign. They're probably going to add a DLC, obviously for an additional price, for us to be able to get the Warpath campaign. There will be no port to PC, just like we discussed just a second ago. So if we want a port to PC, we better shout it out and make it well known that we want a port to the damn PC. because I think that, like I said, the changes they've done to the game would be nice to have on the PC version. There will be no multiplayer, and they're going to be faithful to the original to a fault, in my opinion. And I guess that's for everyone's opinion. I personally like the original version. Some people prefer modded versions, which we've already discussed earlier. So, if that's something that is your cup of tea, then that's great. I personally would have liked to have seen some other additions added to the game that were not included. Why not add some extra regions? Why not take the time to do these things? But they clearly stated in their comments that it would have taken a lot of time, so they simply did not want to take that time. So I don't know how much they got paid for it. Obviously, that was a factor in. Take it as it is. And the last thing to cover is that the price. Price for $20 is, to me, it seems like quite a bit for a old PC game being put on mobile. But that's my opinion. Okay. So last thing I want to discuss is the art style. They have done some updates to the art in the game. But they are pretty faithful to the original again. So as you can see, they've just added little tweaks. So they took the little icons from this to this. I would have liked to seen them like break away from these and go with a little different. Maybe change the portraits. Make them look like maybe because these are obviously looking cartoony. I'm okay with this, but I would have liked to seen them do the portraits a little different. Maybe make them more like oil painting, and then maybe these icons for the units to make them more like a pencil drawing of the era, if you know what I mean. I'll put up an image on the screen to show my point. Let me know what you think. Okay. So, with that out of the way, I think now we can kind of roll right into the pros. I think I've covered all the cons. Now, I might have missed some, so don't judge me based on, not getting everything. But now I want to roll into the pros, so let's go ahead and roll into that. Okay, so the first pro, I can't start out without going to my favorite one, which is when you fight a battle in a region that has a emergent nation, you have the option to put that nation as a protectorate. I think this would also work if it is the nation's last region. Not entirely sure on that. We'll soon find out in a couple days, but at least from what we see here, it would be an emergent nation. As you can see here, this will turn into Greece if you have the option to occupy it or liberate it. So obviously you'll get a new protectorate of Greece, which half of their income will go to you, and they can provide you a buffer zone and a nice little trade partner as well. So that's a nice option added to the game. You can see they chose to liberate it. So Greece now becomes a new nation, and they become your protectorate. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You don't have to, use kind of the tricks that I've covered before on the PC, where you have to kill every unit in the battle except for just a small amount, and then demand from the diplomacy menu to force them in to become a protectorate. So I like this. I like this a lot. Really nice positive that they added to the game. I think they carried that over from Napoleon. All right, so the next positive is going to be user interface. And I really like what they have done with the user interface. The menus look crisp and clean, and you're getting more information out of what you are being presented. You'll be able to see return on investment. You'll be able to see your fleets, all your recruitment in one location for each region. So like your port is all on this screen. All your different your military being recruited. This is all in one spot. I really like that. I like that you're going to be able to see when your towns are developing in a nice and clean space. This is great, and I must commend them on that. And also some of the other things they've done on the visual aspect of it for the user interface is quite nice. I really like the unit cards, and it looks like they're grouped together nicely. All the like units are grouped together, so you can manage your battles quite nicely. Because when I set up, especially in multiplayer, I like to keep all my artillery grouped together. I like to keep all my cav grouped together. I like to keep all my light infantry grouped together, so that I can get to them, the unit cards to the unit on the battlefield quickly based on knowing where I go. And I like to set them up on the battlefield left to right. So as you're placing your units on the battlefield, wherever the cards are, like this unit here, I'm going to set him up on the left, him next to the left, him middle right, and him all the way on the right. If that makes sense. That way I can easily get to my units. It makes your micromanagement all the faster. I love that. That's great. Nice. And the buttons to be able to get to advancing and fire at will. All these things are great. It's really crisp and clean. So nice hand of applause for them on that. I really like what they've done with the user interface. So that's the next one. Okay, so the next positive is going to be the changes they've done to the research. So let's go into this. They've added a couple things to the research tree. I'm not sure exactly what all they have added. We don't know. That's a question mark. But I do know one thing in particular they've added. But let's talk about the universities and the schools first of all. Of course, the research is all based on points. And one thing that you're going to be able to do in this, that's a nice little addition, is you can use the points that you gather from your schools and your universities and pile all those research points onto one tech to like bust that one out quick, or you can spread those points up into several different techs to try to get several tech going and completed all at the same time. I kind of know how I'm going to go about that. At least I'm thinking about kind of taking all my research points and gang banging them onto one. I don't know if I should say that, but anyways, that's kind of what my theory is. I'm going to take all my research points and nail one research thing as possible. Now, obviously, you might have more points to go on to a different tech, but obviously I'd want to spend most of them to nail and get a tech done, and then put the rest of my research points to the next thing I want to get done. Excuse me. All right. Then the other thing I really enjoy about the changes to the research is number one, your gentlemen. They've changed how your gentlemen are going to react, so you don't have to put them all in the universities anymore. You can actually get them out, and as they say, you can get them and let them stretch their legs a little bit. And if you put them in a industrial building, like a textile plant, then they will be able to get skills that will give them extra research bonuses towards researching those items quicker. So that's quite a nice detail. I really enjoy that, because it's kind of like, got to send all my gentlemen off to one place to get research done. It's just like, okay, what more can you do with them? I think it adds a nice element to them. Simple, clear, easy. I like that. Versus some of these, like, I mean, I don't want to pick on other things, but I've seen some mods that get super complex and things. When you get too complex, it makes the game boring, in my opinion. After a time, it might be cool first time, second time, but after time, if it's not easy and accessible and makes sense, I think it can become boring. And I think what they've done here is, I really commend them on it, because it's just simple. It's really simple what they've done. It adds a nice element to it. It actually adds to the game, adds to the enjoyment level, and I love that. So, big thumbs up for that. Okay, one additional thing I'd like to add to research is, because of your research, you can actually do a peaceful change to your government, which before you had to force rebellions, and you can still do that. But now, as you do research, you'll be able to get the ability to do a peaceful transition of government. So that's quite nice. And I like that addition. Another thing that they've done to add an element to the game that makes sense, because this was done, and it makes sense in a lot of ways, that it adds an element that you can work towards and feel like you're going to make a meaningful change to your game and your campaign, and I really enjoy that. So another big thumbs up on this element. All right, I'm going to start speeding through the rest of these pros, because I feel like this video is starting to become a little long. So let's go ahead and go through the rest of these things. So they have done some changes to the replenishment system, and they have a new auxiliary system, very similar to what you would have in Napoleon Total War, where the units will self-replenish if you're in your regions, or if you're in the actual buildings where they're recruited. You get bonuses to where they replenish faster. If the unit actually is able to be recruited from that building, you actually get even more replenishment. So that is quite interesting. You also have the ability to turn that off and just go with the regular PC version of the game, where you can do a replenishment anywhere in the map, and it takes 2 turns for your unit to be replenished. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, it's interesting, naval is actually going to be done with this as well. The old version, it only took 1 turn for naval to be fixed. So it's interesting to see how naval will be affected on its replenishment, but it's probably a little bit more realistic in this version, because as we all have seen Master and Commander, you can see they go out to sea and they are rebuilding their ship. Who knows how long it takes, but I'm sure it wasn't overnight. But I guess each turn is half a year, so I would expect them not to take longer than a half a year, but I guess we're dealing with the turns that we get. All right, so the next thing is with the option of your replenishment, which makes it interesting, is you have this new auxiliary system where you can recruit units that are native to that region, such as the sepoys and units in India for European units, and I'm sure in the Americas, such as native units. And I'm not sure 100% on this, but I would assume the native units that you recruit in the Americas are also going to be on this type of system, where they will be able to replenish quicker. They're cheaper, but we'll see exactly how that kind of goes down. I'm only speculating. I can only go by what the information is they give us on their website. Excuse me, and on X. So that's basically all I know. The next thing is about fort battles. Quite interesting. They're going to be applying an upkeep cost to forts, but there's a catch to that, because if you put units in your forts, you'll actually get a discount from your cost of your troops. So if you're smart and you can do it, you're going to put your most expensive units in the fort as you're transitioning, at least if you can get it done for a couple turns. If you have to have them on rest, you're going to want to put all your guard units and your most expensive units inside the fort so you can get that discount onto those units. At least that's how I would do it from hearing what the changes are going to be. The other additions to the fort, they said they're going to be changing the gate, how the gate openings. I'm sure we all have seen how the gates keep flopping open in a battle because they feel the AI thinks somebody's going in and out, blah, blah, blah. So that's interesting to see what they will have done to the, to keep the gates from keeping opening. But also they're going to be making it so the guns on the walls, the cannons, will have a better range of fire to reduce down blind spots. Now, I don't know if that's going to completely eliminate them. I'll be darned if I don't be trying that out the first day I get it to see if I can exploit any weaknesses in the fort. And we'll be going over that together as we cover this addition to the game. But I think it's good that they're doing that, because it's going to make fort battles all the more challenging. The next thing is they're going to be also to the fort battles. They've reworked the AI to improve the defense. Hopefully they won't all cram to one corner and do the same old stupid things that they always do. We'll have to wait and see if the placement of the units is going to be the same, where they always put their artillery out side the fort on one corner. On like if you're the AI and you're placing your units, the AI is going to place artillery on the left outside upper corner of the fort, and they're also going to place artillery on the lower right hand outside the fort side. So hopefully that makes sense. But I'm sure you've all seen how they place their artillery, and you probably all are aware of how they position their units, where they do stick cav in the center of the where the flag is, and they put a couple cav units around their artillery to protect the artillery that are sitting outside the fort. So we'll see if that's been changed any, and we'll see what goes down from there. But definitely a positive to see. Right now we can think of it as a positive. As far as that goes, that's all I can say about the fort battles. Moving on, that the campaign AI has supposedly been improved. This is going to help reduce down all the single stacks. It's not going to eliminate them, but it will at least help prevent the traffic jams of single stack units around places like Istanbul, where it will cause the game to crash. The famous Ottoman intern crash, because the units get stacked up in there so much where the movement gets bogged down, and you just never. You sit there on the intern forever. I'm sure we've all been through it. It's a well-known thing. I'm not going to go into it too far. That supposedly is fixed. Now, I will tell you, since the last update to the game that they did, that took away the chat, which I hate. Damn UCA for doing that. But ever since that update, I will tell you, I have not had any crashes on that to this point. So I don't know what more they're doing to it, but I will tell you, I've noticed that from the update CA did on the last update. Anyways, moving on to the next positive. They are also making churches to where they're going to have more of a relevance after you've converted over the populace of the region that your church is in. I typically always destroy the church and put up an industrial building there to make more money. But in this case, you can keep it going and it'll help start converting over neighboring regions, is at least how I understand it. So it keeps them relevant. Now, I guess you can still decide whether you want to allow that to happen or what, because you still got your priests that you can move around. It is what it is. So anyway, single stacks we talked about. I think that pretty much covers most of the positives. There is one last thing, that it is faithful to the original. I know I said that on the cons, but I think it, like I said, it can be a positive or it can be a negative based on your opinions. You know, I think it's a positive because you're able to play the game as it was intended, but the negatives that I see are you're not able to add anything new to the game. And that is a pretty major negative. So, I'm on the fence of it. I feel negative toward it and I feel positive towards it. So you can let me know in the comments below what you feel about my pros and cons. Now I'm going to go into the questions up next. Okay, I'm just going to rip right into this because I do have several questions about the game that obviously we're not going to know. They've answered their answers, and that's to questions already, and that's how I compiled this pros and cons list. But there are still some questions I have, and I think that we'll only be able to find out once we purchase the game and really dive into it. The first question I have is, will the pathfinding still be an issue? I would say that has been an issue with fort battles. Will that still continue to be an issue? It's also been an issue in the regular battles as it is. Another thing with the pathfinding is sometimes we have units that get stuck when they're reinforcement army. They get stuck as they're re-entering the battlefield. So will these pathfinding and reinforcement issues be fixed with this version of the game? Hopefully so, but only time can tell. And I will bring those answers to you as I start playing the game. And then I think the next question I have is, how will the changes that they've done to the AI in the campaign, how will that affect the campaign in a long-term way? Because anything they've done has a ripple effect to the game. So change the replenishment system. What's that going to do as far as causing the AI to manage their units as any differently? This is going to be interesting to see, because the AI is definitely going to want to make decisions on where they place units so that they're replenished better, especially if they're damaged, or obviously if they're damaged in a battle. It's going to be interesting to see what's the long-term effects that's going to have. Are there improvements that they've done enough to make it a fun game? I personally think they will, but we won't know, especially with the AI, how the AI is concerned. Are the improvements that they've made to the AI enough to make it a challenging game as well as fun? So we'll have to wait and see when we start playing. And like I said, what new problems will arise from the things that they've done? Again, only a wait and see once we start playing through. And you can tie that into the changes they've done to the economy, because they've made changes to the economy. So what will those effects be? I mean, are they just doing it to make it easier for players to be able to ramp up their money? And so we'll see if that has an effect. Because especially as you play on the harder difficulties, the AI gets more cheats to their financial wealth. So are they going to just build massive wealth and tons of stacks to bog down the game like it does, especially for the mods? Ugh, because they give tons more money in a lot of the mods, and it just becomes a slog and boring. So we'll see how that is affected. Like I said, here's the thing about the gates. They've improved the gates in the fort battles, but what's the effect of that going to have? Because right now, as men pass through the gates, you still have situations sometimes where a couple guys on your line infantry will get stuck at the edge of where the gate is, and they won't come out of the fort if you sally out. And as you're forming up the form a line to start volleying out onto the enemy units, you can't even shoot because you don't have all your men. As you know, when you're moving forward with a line infantry, if there's just one man in the 120 man unit that's not formed up with the rest of the line, you have to wait to start firing until that man is there. Now the AI does not get that disadvantage. They'll start blasting off at you as I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many men, but I've seen it where they've got a good 10, 20 men still trying to form up, and they're already taking shots at me. So will that problem still arise where your men get hung up at the gate? We'll have to wait and see. Again, are the improvements to the fort battles enough with what they've done to the gates? Well, wall defenders have better range of fire, not just the cannons on the walls, but will the men shooting their muskets, will they have a better range of fire, similar to what you see in Shogun? How they seem to have a little bit better use of their guns firing down and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see. Can they shoot at better angles? I hope that they do move some of the changes that they did in Shogun into the game, but it's a wait and see. And then lastly, how different will the game feel? All these changes, is it going to make the game a more enjoyable experience? Because that's what I'm really hoping for. And I'm hoping that I can tell you that it will be. Now, I can say that for me, as I compiled this list, there is a lot more pros than there is cons. And as far as I'm concerned, and again, this is all opinion based, and like my mama told me, everybody's got an opinion. As you know, everybody's got an asshole, an opinion. I don't know what the saying is, but I forget it. Our opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. There you go. Anyways, here's my opinion. I think the changes are enough for me, at least, to want to purchase the game, because obviously I already did. But I'm interested to see, so that I can help apply pressure to port this to the PC, because I think it is going to be positive. Now, if it's not, I'm going to be here to tell you that it's not, and that they got work to do. But we'll see. Like I said, because I feel they've made some really good changes to the game. Just would have loved to have seen them go and take it a little bit further and run with things a little bit more. But who knows how much money CA gave them to make these changes. But I'm going to be optimistic in this, because like I said, I think that the cons are things I can live with. I think to me, the worst part about it is there's no Warpath campaign. So I would assume that means obviously all the units for the native armies are not going to be in addition. So when you're fighting the natives, it's just going to be the old plain Jane warband units and crappy bowmen, you're not going to get those DLC units. And I know that in the regular campaign, that's all you get anyways. It would have been nice to see them move some of those units over to the regular game. But it is what it is. And I'm going to hate that they're going to probably charge some kind of price for the Warpath campaign. Hopefully it's only like $3. I mean, I know that they're going to want more than that, but I mean, I don't know that the Warpath campaign is really warrants paying like $5 to $10. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do to the Warpath campaign for them to make the Warpath campaign worth more than that. I think we better see the native nations redone a little bit, because they definitely are needing that. We need a Comanche only nation. We need more of the units performing ambushes and stuff in other nations. But I want to see a full-on Comanche nation that makes traversing from Texas to Mexico living hell for anyone that is in those regions. You know, I want to see those type of additions to the game. And then, hell, I would have liked to see that to the regular campaign, adding those. But we'll see what happens with it. But this is all I got, guys. Let me know what you're thinking on this, what your comments, questions, concerns are, your positive thinking on it. I want to know it all. Let me know, because I think this is great discussion. We only got 2 days left. I don't know if you're excited about it or just want to see what the changes are, but I'm certainly excited to get in and start tearing into it to see what the changes are. I mean, hell, it's been a long time since we gotten something this revolutionary, dare I say it, to the game. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I've got to figure out how to record the game so that I can show you footage of what I've done and where I've gone with it. So I'm working on that today to get prepared for it when it comes out, that I'm ready to go with everything I need to do screen recordings for you. So that's basically all I got. And we'll see you on the next video. Once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my members of my channel. And thank you for their continued support as always. And we will see you on the next video.